Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us. It is another magnificent Monday's edition of Talk Today as we have our monthly mental health matters. We want you to join us because Dr. Borden is normal. Always puts together a wonderful crew to help us to appreciate the discussion. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back and thanks. They say with a smile on your face, either two things will happen. People will look at you and laugh, or they'll look at you and wonder, what that green tooth fool doing? But it's going to be a great show as we have our monthly mental health matters. Again, a very special thanks to Dr. Alexandra Borden for facilitating not only a needed and necessary discussion, but one that is always timely. So, Dr. Borden, as we go around the table, I'll respectfully perhaps ask Dr. Borden and then Brent, you can introduce Jason, and then a quick intro for our listeners so that we get assembled and comfortable and get into the discussion. But this month is the month of September. For me, it's the most important month of the year for many reasons. It reminds us of what transpires, new schools for new students transitioning from one to the next. I always believed that was the time of the year when we most missed our fathers as the seafarers went off to sea. It may not be the case, but for me that is. So September is that month of renewal, to be re-energized, to recover, as it were. But Dr. Borden.
Yeah, no, thank you. We've got an awesome panel assembled for today, and happy to be kicking off Recovery Month. So September is Recovery Month, and we've got a lot of the agencies on island that help people in recovery. So we're really excited to have our guest today. And September is also Suicide Prevention Awareness Month as well. So September is a really big month for mental health as well. Yeah. So looking at substance abuse and mental health recovery.
Well, I appreciate that. And again, this may be one of the many comments I'll continue to make throughout this week. But when we look at celebrating our people, celebrating holidays, I always thought September was that month. That should be just for those reasons alone. Well, Mr. Brent Hydes, you bring us hope, not just for today, but you bring us hope, my friend.
Yes, Mr. Ebank, it's always a pleasure for me to be here talking about such delicate subjects and recognizing all the work that all the agencies have been doing in the community to assist individuals in this community. And it's so wonderful that we get together and we continue to try to complement one another in the service and the work that we provide to the community.
Jason.
Good afternoon. My name is Jason Jones. I work with Dr. Borden at Encourse Cayman, doing mental health counseling and counseling therapies. Very happy to be here. Recovery Month, both mental health-wise and substance use and abuse-wise, is very near and dear to my heart for a number of different reasons. So, thank you.
Ms. Kimberly, good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I'm Kimberly Febres. I'm the program coordinator at Caribbean Haven
which is the island's only residential treatment center for people who struggle with addiction and also co-occurring mental health issues. So very excited to be here to talk about our full slate of Recovery Month activities, and also just to encourage anyone out there who has struggled with addiction or has a loved one who struggles, to know that there's hope and recovery is possible.
Indeed, indeed. Well, it's Raquel. It's a pleasure to welcome you as well.
Yeah, hi, my name is Raquel Tobian. I'm a psychotherapist at Infinite Mind Care. I'm very excited to be here on my first radio show with you guys. Thank you for having me. And for me, Recovery Month is really important. I've spent the entirety of my career working with folks in substance use and co-occurring mental health disorders. And it's just so profoundly impactful when we can see the changes that we're able to make and how it impacts not just an individual, but our family, our community. So I'm grateful to be here to talk about this today.
Well, welcome. Thanks very much. Mr. Ivan.
Hi, my name is Ivan McLean. I am the Prevention and Information Officer with the National Drug Council. And a privilege to be here. Thanks for the invitation to be a part of.
They say 7 is a fulfilling number, and if I sit in the middle of, 3 on each side, we realize that support is not just nurturing, not just a sense of safety and security. And as I think of, in the month of September, maybe but for Julius Caesar, it might have been a different number altogether. But 7 or 9, or whether it's in between, the notion that you can draw alongside others who are there to guide you, to not condemn, but to be supportive. The path to recovery, I know Brent has shared many times this in our very frequent discussions. It is a daily journey. But for those of us who don't know, who don't feel it, Dr. Barton, there are many steps. The societal approach, the individual responsibility, but the resource that is there. So as we shape our discussion today, what is it that we should perhaps focus on and be left with?
Yeah, so today we'll be looking at most years we look at substance abuse, and anyone who's interested in learning more about it, I encourage you to look at past shows that we have up on drbodden.com. But today we want to look specifically at relationships and how relationships are impacted in addiction as well as in recovery. So the support group, as we've often spoken about, is part of every human's life. Humans are naturally social creatures, and so our support group is a huge influence and can be a huge factor, both a risk factor if we are someone who is in addiction or in recovery, actually, or a huge protective factor. If we're able to rely on the people around us and have their trust and their encouragement as we're making changes in our lives. So I think today we'll start with what is addiction and looking at addictions. And I know we were joking before as well that although substance abuse, gambling is now recognized as well by the DSM as an addictive disorder as well. So all of these come into play, and then looking more at how they impact our relationships, how our relationships are impacted, and how relationships can be recovered and be a big part of our recovery coming back out as well.
When we hear addiction, some people will start like depression. They'll say, "Oh, I feel depressed," or "I may be addicted to chocolate." I actually might be addicted to chocolate, but not making light of it. What is addiction? And do all of us, or if not, do some of us have more of an addictive personality?
Okay, so the idea of the addictive personality is one that you often hear about. But when we're looking at diagnosis-wise, what we're looking at is the frequency of use and its impact on you physically as well as socially. And so looking at if you are using more of the substance, whatever that may be. We actually have diagnoses even for caffeine intoxication. So you take the chocolate, I'll take the caffeine. And but looking at its impact on us and our functioning and our relationships as well. So especially if we develop something like if we are using it to a point where we develop a tolerance, that can be a sign of a difficulty where you use. So for example, if it's alcohol, where you're having to drink more to have the same effect. Okay. Or if you are having withdrawal, so if you don't have the substance, whether it's alcohol or another drug, then you have symptoms then. So with alcohol, if the next day with hangovers, as the alcohol leaves your body, that can be a part of it. Or if it's impacting your ability to function. So if you're not able to get to work, if you're not able to look after your kids, so there's a lot of different symptoms that we look at, and it's going to be a different level, just like with the mental illnesses for everyone.
Okay.
So.
Ms. Kimberly, if I may just invite you into the conversation, understanding probably most of general addiction, and I say this with the greatest respect, but sometimes get people to realize that we look at chocolate, but caffeine. Dr. Borden was sharing that if someone said we don't have that caffeine, and not just that 1 cup, that 2 cups, not just 2 cups, but 2 cups that could be equate to a carafe. We have to have a lot of it to get function. It's not irritable or behavior. If we don't have it for a period of time, maybe headaches. So as the program coordinator for Caribbean Haven, and we're talking about addiction, maybe a couple of things. What are we doing there? But what substances is it? Alcohol, tobacco, other drugs, legal or otherwise, or is it caffeine and chocolate and whichever? For Caribbean Haven.
That we treat at
That you treat it, yeah.
It's primarily the primary drugs that we see and substances that we see people getting admitted for are alcohol, cocaine, and marijuana. And recently we've also started seeing an increase in people who abuse prescription opiates and other prescription medicine that can be addictive, so prescription narcotics. So we don't necessarily keep people in residential treatment for gambling addiction, but we do find that there are many people have co-occurring addictions. Maybe they're addicted to cocaine and they also have a sex addiction, or there are other things going on. And going back to what Dr. Bawden said about the addictive personality, that's really where it stems from. It's the addiction is sort of the substance of choice, or the addiction of choice is sort of a coping mechanism, be it unhealthy in most cases, for something else that's going on.
Okay. Well, when we come back from the break, Ms. Raquel, maybe you could introduce the next segment with a discussion with you. This co-occurring sort of dependencies we like, and maybe we don't appreciate that we have these things transparent. We have resources from the facilities to the personnel like yourselves. Where do you go? And then Alvin, walking that path of addiction, is it a daily walk? Maybe you and Brent can share with us. So after the break, we invite our listeners to rejoin us. It is a serious matter, and I think we shouldn't be dismissive, but always be absolutely respectful. There, by the grace of God, go I. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Freedom, Kim Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
To those affected by a hurricane, the damage is far greater than the eye can see. It's the helplessness and uncertainty you feel when you have no electricity or running water. It's the pain of experiencing damage to your home. But there are people right here that can help. We're CG Britke. We're your neighbors. We live here and work here too. We're always ready to answer calls and to process your claims as quickly as possible. So when a storm turns your life upside down, we're here to turn it around. CG Britke. Good like that.
So, do you have your tickets?
What tickets?
Your tickets for UCCI's first ever alumni homecoming. They're on sale now.
Hey, I don't want to miss that. When is it?
October 28th. There'll be a dinner gala, silent auction, live entertainment, and more. It's a chance to reconnect with UCCI, past classmates, and those instructors that helped change your life.
Where do I get my tickets?
At EventPro. They have discounted early bird tickets for only $75 per person, but after September 25th, prices are due to go up.
The alumni homecoming sounds great. I'm going to eventpro.ky right now.
Shaken yet standing firm. This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Talk today.
but I do have some questions.
Talk today. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. It is our monthly Mental Health Matters, which we always endeavor to do on the first Monday of the month. Doesn't matter whether that's the 1st or the 10th. That's the first Monday. Well, you think 7 days, how can the 10th be the first Monday? Check it out. It might happen. Last year was a long century. This year might be different. You just never know. Well, it is the topic, loving someone in recovery and addiction. Dr. Alexandra Borden, Mr. Brent Hayes, together with Jason Jones. We also have Ivan McLean, and make sure I got it now. This Raquel Tobian, together with Kimberly Fibris. Boy, Funny Banks, that was a challenging thing. But just before the break, Miss Raquel, I was asking the idea of, you referenced, working with codependent addictions and the like. And for some people, we may not appreciate that this thing could trigger that or this thing is connected to that. But share with us if you wish so that we get that appreciation. Sometimes it's not just one thing. It may be many things. One may be primary, or they may be all almost equal.
Yeah, I think, in working with co-occurring disorders, it's anyone who works in the field of addiction can probably tell you it's extremely rare that we find someone and the only thing going on is addiction. So often it's other mental health disorders, whether that's depression, anxiety, a history of trauma, that are often contributing to why someone is turning to a substance use to cope. Mm-hmm. That certainly is not always the case, but I've met very few folks that come seeking recovery that don't have other life circumstances going on that are making it difficult for them to cope without substances. And so it's really important when you're seeing this to have, I think, a lot of compassion for people and recognize that rarely is it just what you see on the surface. There's all of these things going on underneath, and finding providers who are trained to address all of those problems at the same time. Sometimes people will be like, oh, well, we have to treat this first. And the reality is that people do better when we address all of the conditions that they have going on at any one time.
So in treating those, let's say there are multiple things, and we recognize that, as you shared, we attempt to employ certain strategies to cope. Some of it may be very, very physical, exerting exercise, for instance. They may go for, I think of a friend who says this all the time, he doesn't sometimes just go for a run. He goes for, an exhaustive run, 10 miles if possible. Or if he's going to go run 1 mile, he tries to sprint it. So that when he's finished, he's spent. So we do different things. Hopefully, we think somewhat healthy. I don't think I would recommend it in that sense. But when we're looking at these different potential things that are occurring at the same time, do we need to identify them all and treat them? Or do we are we able to categorize and rank, well, this one is more of a priority than this one? How do we go about identifying and responding to it?
A good diagnostic assessment is really important. So working with a provider who's able to accurately diagnose not just the substance use disorder, but any of the mental health conditions. And at least for me, from a treatment standpoint, when substances are on board, they are kind of the primary thing to address because nothing gets better as long as they're present. It's really hard to treat any of the other conditions until we stabilize the substance use. That doesn't mean necessarily that someone has to stop completely. That might be our recommendation, but if we can get it to a level where we're able to work with the anxiety, the depression, even the trauma, that can really go a long way to also then improving the substance use.
Well, and I think it gets tricky, and that's where they normally go for the substance abuse, to at least to get them as clean as we can to start with, because a lot of substance use can look like other mental health conditions. So if someone's admitted to the hospital for hallucinations, it might be because of schizophrenia or a psychotic disorder, or it might be from cocaine use. And so that's where it gets very tricky, and so that's where, having a period of stability with sobriety can be really helpful to tease apart. Once the substance is off, if the difficulties remain, then that's going to help with diagnosing that may be an underlying condition or one that was precipitated by the drug use. So
recognizing it and then responding.
Yeah. So once they're clean for a little while, you can see then what happens. It's hard because people will use substances with the onset of a mental illness as a way of coping.
Mm-hmm.
So those may have been there to start with, and trying to cope with it, they're using the drugs to try to manage the symptoms that are going on with it, albeit anxiety, depression, psychosis, trauma reactions. So, or those can come after the drug use. They got into drugs, something happened, and then a lot of difficulties came, and then the depression is then precipitated by it. Likewise, first-time drug use can also bring on the first psychotic episode.
Mm-hmm.
So it might have started with substances, but then the psychosis remains afterwards. So it's tricky, and that's where I agree. It's important to have someone who's skilled in that area to be able to help with the diagnosis.
So you never know if it's the underlying mental issue or if it's the drug use. So one can feed the other, and not treating either results in the person being negatively affected.
Yes, absolutely. And that was such a great point, that we often misdiagnose mental health concerns, particularly if a patient comes in with the shame of addiction and they don't want to open up and say, hey, I've been using. That can absolutely lead to an incorrect diagnosis and then ultimately incorrect treatment.
Yeah. And I'm glad that we mentioned, even though we're not looking necessarily at the whole concept of mental illnesses, but I think that's where, as a society, we label and malign. We probably don't even appreciate the impact that it has. Here's someone who has an addiction. You know, we know their family member, their friends, they're dealing with this issue, and we are quick to castigate them because of the substance abuse issue, without appreciating that there's something else on the line. I wonder, unless Brent, you go ahead, man, jump in.
Yeah, and again, what I've always found in working in the field of rehabilitation is someone will come in, you know, seeking treatments for drugs and alcohol, and when they start to clean up and they've been clean, sober a while, then you see all of these other behaviors that start to come into play, and then you start to wonder what's wrong with this guy. And then, you know, the only thing the whole foundation can do is to have them probably recommended to Dr. Miguel to have the individual properly diagnosed, because, you know, we want to assume that drugs and alcohol is a problem. Once he got clean, wow, some of this stuff just started to show up, and you just got to get to the place where you figured exactly what's going on with the individual.
I think this is where we need to have a level of sensitivity, and there, but the grace of God go. We never know what may cause us. But when we walk in a small community, and we see how we easily look at people and castigate them, dismiss them.
Sure.
And it must be challenging for friends and family and for the individual to appreciate that within them there's this turmoil, there's this thing, but nobody seems to really care enough.
Yeah. Well, addiction is scoffed after. It ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And in a community as small as ours, it's easily seen, and the general judgment is so typical and quickly coming from every side. Not to mention the family unit, because they're terribly disappointed with us and our behavior. But one of the truths are, me getting loaded that's the end result of those underlying things. And I guess a good word or a word that I could use would be trauma. And whether that's emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, I think I'm sitting in a circle that it's we could agree that it's safe to say 75+% of addiction stems from some core issue that is trauma associated, because I don't want to feel. That's whatever's going on. There's sight, sound, smells, and that are triggering something that has happened for me. That has triggered something, and I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to feel it. I'm going to smoke it away, drink it away, and this is what will work right now. And many times, how often did I and does the addict think that this time it's going to be different, and this will be the resolution, the full and complete resolution, and that not be the case, as it never is, and we go through that cycle one more time, and come out the end full of shame, guilt, and remorse, and then the issues multiplied. So, yeah.
Let me then ask, and certainly I want to be guided because I want us to help not just me but all of us in listening. Triggers was the word I heard, and I remember in a past discussion we talked about being responsible. But are there such a thing as a trigger? I mean, this thing could lead us. I've got a good friend, will not eat certain foods in the event that they may have certain things in it. Just sort of a caution. I've always wondered, could that be a trigger? Would you want to jump in?
Listen to me. Can you imagine? I used, a number of years I was with the Economics and Statistics Office, and nowhere in this world can you ever go and you don't find a rubber band. And I'm telling you, can you imagine? You're in an office, you work for a living, and it's nothing but rubber bands. A rubber band used to trigger me because of how I used to wrap my pipe.
Oh, okay.
And here I sit in, I'd sit in an office full of them in every color and every width and size. So, and cans, empty cans, for Christ's sake, on the side of the road, because how many of us have stopped off on the side of the road and shake a spider out of his nest to make a pipe out of the can that he had been in for 4 weeks, and then use it for the consumption of some controlled substance. It is there. Yeah, triggers are everywhere, but when the addict, when the sufferer is willing to deal with those deep-seated issues, and maybe that's a little bit too descriptive, but issues, underlying issues. When that happens, brother, you can stack them cans 10 on top of another, and I kind of collect rubber bands now.
Good for you.
It is, the triggers become tools. And
just to add to what I was saying, I remember when I first got clean and sober 13 years ago, a lot of the people that were smoking crack at the time would use the public bathrooms. And if I'm going along the road and I want to use the bathroom, I would just stop and pull into the bathroom. And I would walk into the bathroom, there would be 2 or 3 cans just sitting there with holes in it. And for me, I'm going, wow. And I would reflect back on the days when I used to use. And I would say, how convenient. That was always my reply, how convenient. It's right there waiting. Don't even have to bore it, don't have to do nothing. They just left it for my convenience. But because of the tools and the resources and the way my recovery was at the time, looking at it was, I could laugh. I really could laugh. So I literally got to the place where I just don't take myself too serious. And I was able to step away from that and saying how careless can someone be, and put a different perspective to it, and says how careless can someone be to know this is a public bathroom. There's children that come here to play on a daily basis, and they're going to walk into this bathroom, and they're going to notice and see this paraphernalia of an individual using drugs. So he has already got the idea of what to do, what he can use whenever that time comes. And I thought, how ridiculous, for someone to think so stupidly.
That's wrong.
So if I could add to that, so triggers are going to be different for everyone, right? We've talked about it before. I think we've probably talked about it with cutting and that kind of stuff as well. And so an easy way to remember it, as was actually from a lot of the work I did at the counseling center, was people, places, and things. I think that comes from AA. I think now they've added thoughts and feelings as well. But it's going to be things that remind you of your past use that then make you want to use again. And that's what the triggers are. So a lot of the work that we do in counseling and recovery is going to be helping the person to identify what the triggers are, what high-risk situations are that could potentially trigger them, and then helping them learn adaptive coping mechanisms or ways of being able to deal with those situations more effectively. Avoiding the high-risk situations when you can, if not having a plan of action should you come to face it. So.
And maybe as you go into the break, you could ask, we who are the support mechanism, the friends, the family, the spouses, the co-workers, and the like, are there things that we can do to help to mitigate the impact of those triggers? I mean, and I say this very carefully, but in Cayman, the only thing that we got problem more than, liquor stores or churches, you can, every corner, there's a way to find some, alcoholic beverage of choice. Going home would be challenging. What can we do? All right. That break looms. Let's take that break so that we can pay the bills. Join us after, please. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Bro, do you really have to eat 2 sandwiches for lunch?
No, but one is for dinner. On Tuesdays at Subway, you can get the 2 subs for any size, plus a fountain drink for the price of 1.
Nah, Bobo, that sounds too good to be true. For real though, 2 subs for the price of 1 and a drink?
Each and every Tuesday now until September 28th. Buy any Subway sandwich in any size and a 32-ounce fountain drink and get an equal or lesser value sub for free. For every 2 for Tuesday purchase, be entered to win one of 3 LG 50-inch 4K smart TVs, a Grill Pro, or one of 2 retro bikes, plus many more prizes. Subway's 2 for Tuesdays is in partnership with Pepsi and Progressive Distributors. Prize drawing is September 30th. Terms and conditions apply. See in-store for details.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointments.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
A laptop is an essential tool that facilitates teaching and learning in the new digital society. Through the One-to-One Laptop Initiative, the Ministry of Education has purchased laptops for every child enrolled in government, primary and secondary schools. Collect a laptop from your child's school today and ensure that your child is not left behind as we forge ahead with our digital education strategy. This is a message from the Ministry of Education.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And I keep saying it publicly, but I can't say it often enough. Thanks to Dr. Alexandra Borden for facilitating the monthly or Mental Health Matters show. And this month, living and loving and learning. So, loving someone in recovery and addiction. For NDC, as Ivan McLean joins us, and always have a good company and conversation with you, together with Brent Hides, because he knows it feels it. You share it. joining them equally, Dr. John Borden, her colleague, Jason Jones from the Caribbean Haven. I was going to say another word, is the program coordinator, Ms. Kimberly Fibbers, and then from Infinite Mind Care. Hopefully it won't be her last time she joins us, Ms. Raquel Tobian. Maybe it isn't because we haven't had a sense of direct sort of experience with it. So with the empathy, how can you get to a space where you understand what a person is feeling? And then just prior to the break, we were asking, well, what can we do? Who are the ones who genuinely love this person, care for them? Yeah. But we see this thing happening, and we see them maybe wanting. But Dr. Bartlett, maybe start with you, if you wish, and then we can. Or you can delegate. You have the authority. I've delegated to you. What is it? My lawyer friend tells me, delegatas non protest delegati. So you've been delegated. You can delegate it. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Because I think it'll be good for us to look at the role that the family and the loved ones play, because they can be a part of the addiction and part of the difficulties, but they can also be a part of the recovery. And I think it'll be helpful for us to look at both building empathy for what the person is going through, as the first-hand stories are often helpful. I think, I'm not sure if it was Mr. Ivan or Mr. Raquel who said that, kind of the addiction is just the end result. There's so much more that goes on behind it, but that's what we get really frustrated with, is why can't he just put it down? Yeah. Right? When there's so much more going on. So I think it's helpful to understand that, but also for a family to know how much they can do and what is out of their control as well, because we also can't make anyone do anything.
Well, that's the thing. There are many idioms, and perhaps some have become cliches, but was it, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And not me, Boba, and dip your head in the water, drink! But that's what we want to do.
You feed them salt.
We feed them. We love these people so much. We see what is happening to them. And sometimes they see, like, they genuinely don't, want to be doing this thing. We watch them broken, and they cry, and they worry about, not being able to pay the bills because they've taken that money for something else. They worry about their job loss. This is just another job because they can't function, no matter how supportive their colleagues and employers are. They just can't function. But what do we do? I mean, Ms. Caribbean Haven?
Yes, well, I mean, just because the conversation is difficult to have doesn't mean it shouldn't be had. Yes. But also being mindful of when to have those conversations. If you want to speak to a loved one, about concerns that you have about their behavior, if you suspect that addiction is going on, substance use is going on, try to choose a time when you're both relatively calm, not when one of you is running out the door to bring the kids to school or something, or after a long day and stress is heightened, choose a time wisely, if possible. Be honest, be very honest about what you're feeling, about your concerns. Show compassion where you can, and just let the person know why you're having this talk. I'm worried about what I'm seeing.
Yeah. If I may ask Ms. Raquel again, then Jason, back to you. The scripture talks about never discipline in anger. You said Ms. Kimberly, timing. When do we have these conversations? But we're frustrated. Why can't you see this? Why isn't it? When do we have this conversation? What do we do?
Well, Kimberly, I'm sure this was on your mind too, but making sure that both parties are sober during the conversation is also really important, so that you can make sure it's a productive conversation. And, from when I really encourage family, if they're struggling with a lot of anger, which many of them are, because usually by the time we've gotten to this point, we're talking about years of problems because of substances. And so seeking out their own help, getting their own support, whether it's through community supports like Al-Anon, or going to a therapist and saying, I need support to cope with this, and have a place to express that anger that isn't directed to the person in their life, so that they can come from that place of support and compassion. Also, sometimes having some education about the realities of addiction, and that it isn't just like a matter of personal choice and control. There is a biological aspect to people becoming addicted to substances and dependent on them that can help reduce some of that anger, as well as inform families about what treatment is available, what is the best approach, and coming from that compassion.
But those conversations, sometimes we do get there in anger. And maybe, unfortunately, it is true. The drunken mind reveals what the sober mind conceals. So it's only at that point where it's face to face. So Jason, here are two people, let's say two spouses, two good friends, and one is like, "Oh, why can't you see?" What? And then the other one say, "Well, why can't you see? It's hurting me too." And then they get into this spot that devolves into something, as Raquel was saying, non-productive.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the reality.
And where do these patterns start from? I guess, we're talking about some of the triggers and whatnot. And I was sitting here thinking that we're all generally trying the best we can, given what we've been given as we were raised, and how much dysfunction was in our own families as we grew up, and what did we see and what did we learn, and at what point did we start being attracted to things that maybe aren't healthy for us? And that includes a family member that goes after an alcoholic to try to, subconsciously rescue them or save them because their dad was an alcoholic. I mean, I've talked to far too many family members that grew up with that in their home, and then they somehow found themselves in situations as adults in a similar situation. So it's like they're, these types are kind of attracted to each other sometimes. Someone that I can rescue and someone that'll save me or keep bailing me out or something. But it's one of these things that when there is alcoholism and addiction, there is a real lack of empathy and understanding because the loved one thinks, like, why can't you just stop? And if you love me, please stop.
Right.
But they don't. If it was cancer, they'd be more empathy, because we'd understand it to be an illness and a disease, but because it looks different, we don't quite understand the selfishness and self-centeredness and driven on fear and resentments and things that's happening. And, I've seen very few people that are really, really addicted be able to clean up for someone else.
Okay. So when we come back then from the break, let's pick up on that, because we're talking about loving someone, in recovery and addiction. And what if the person, the addict, is deliberately, consciously or otherwise aware that this person loves me bar none, and so they're there at some point will see if they'll never give up. The question of enabling, because the person loves so much, and then the question of, well, if the addict feels this thing and somehow knows that one person will always be there, there's that sense of hope. What does that do for the love on the other side and the recipient? What does it do for maybe getting to a space where either they get the help that they probably need and maybe even want? You pick up on that when you come back. All right, I'm gonna go up to makeup and hair and get my stuff all put it up. When you come back, you go on YouTube and you want to see a difference. Boy, check it out. Tell me. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Okay, man, moon.
The voice of the Cayman Islands, Radio Cayman.
Shining down from above. We love our listeners.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Department of Vehicle and Driver's Licensing advises the public that all its offices will be closed on Thursday, September 9th to facilitate a staff meeting and training workshop. All offices of DVDL will resume business as usual on Friday, September 10th. In international news, the Taliban have declared victory over the province of Panjshir, northeast of the capital Kabul, the final pocket of territory which has remained outside their rule. The group posted footage online of their fighters raising their flag there on Monday. Their leader has called for a national uprising against the Taliban. Facebook users who watched a newspaper video featuring black men were asked if they wanted to keep seeing videos about primates by an artificial intelligence recommendation system. Facebook told BBC News it was, quote, clearly an unacceptable error, disabled the system and launched an investigation. It is the latest in a long-running series of errors that have raised concerns over racial bias in AI. The leader of the coup which ousted Guinea's President Alpha Condé has said a new union government would be formed in weeks. President Condé remains in detention, but his fate is unclear. The UN, African Union, and regional body ECOWAS have condemned the coup and called for a return to civilian rule. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Afternoon, welcome back. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to the Miss Susan. Can you imagine the work we got to give her every day? She got to sit here and go, oh. But the good thing is, at the end of the show at 2:30, she got some good music to listen to. So it's a preview of what's going to come up then. But I'm very, very grateful for our month in mental health matters. This month, loving someone in recovery and addiction. If you're just loving someone alone, it could be a challenge. But the other things to it now. So Dr. Borden, Mr. Brent Hides, Jason Jones, of course. We got really, really appreciate having the Carbon Haven representatives from Miss Kimberly together. And then Raquel and Ivan, from the statistical analysis to the personal experiences. I think he who knows, he feels it, right? So what was the question before the break I asked? I should have wrote it down. Dr. Borden, you remember? Anybody remembers? No? Sure.
Yeah, well, we're looking at the family.
The family.
And the role they play in addiction and then in recovery.
There we go. See? Mm-hmm. I don't have to remember these things. No, but I'm hoping there's my attempt at some level of jest will get people to realize this is very, very serious and affects us in a very significant way. And there, by the grace of God, we should appreciate everything. So, Dr. Borden, as we go into this segment, where do we go from here? I mean, we've got 27 minutes thereabouts of discussion. Let's make it work.
Yeah. Well, I think let's first look at kind of the impact on the family of the addiction, I think. So we've alluded to it a couple of times, but it can be really hard on the family to, especially if you don't understand it, like Ms. Raquel was saying, if you don't understand the process behind it, because they're the ones who are having the greatest impact on them. They're the ones who are having to deal with the person being high, the person not being home, the person using up all the money, the person running the streets, whatever is going on. They're the ones who are going to be most impacted by it because they're the ones that love them but are also very frustrated with what's going on. It's hard to see someone you love hurt themselves like that, especially if you don't understand what's going on, and they're then often left with the responsibilities. Of the kids, of paying the bills, of making ends meet, of covering for what's going on as well. And I think that's kind of the fine line of how much do you support the person versus when is the time to draw the line and have this conversation that we were talking about before the break.
But to Jason's point, if it was a diagnosed terminal illness, we would probably accept even the outbursts of the person where they become angry and they do something that we feel is unlike them. So is it then, one, we don't see it as an illness, and two, we don't appreciate that for this person? This is akin to that because their lives are being so negatively affected. For them, their lives may be at end. How do we, on the loving side, be empathetic, but how do we respond in a way that is helpful, given that this is a challenge, Brent?
Then again, we got, from my perspective, is we got to understand this is a very delicate subject. When we're talking about telling a family member that they're enabling a child or a loved one maintain their substance abuse habit, it's so delicate because David was raised down, some grew up, and at one point they could have been, employed at a bank, holding down good jobs, becoming a productive member of society. All of a sudden, something may have happened where they fell off track. And we were talking about this earlier. Unless the underlying issues are addressed from the beginning, the substance abuse may return. So we got to recognize that as family members continue to raise their young ones, and they grew up to be human beings, and they see their dreams that they had for their loved ones fade away. Now they're caught up in substances, and they try to give of everything that they have to encourage these individuals to become productive.
So let me then ask then, right? We hear enabling, and then I don't know if the other side of that coin is tough love, but many people go up and you just got tough love. Miss Raquel.
Yeah. So I think we've got to talk about the B word, which is boundaries.
Well, I was thinking something else. I mean, I was thinking...
I don't know if anyone was concerned about
the
what
beach.
I might say.
Yeah. I want to go fishing. That's good.
When I hear tough love, I'm always like, ooh, I don't know about that. But what about boundaries? Can I have clear expectations with the person that I love about what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, and also what are the consequences to that? And I mean, this is something that we all do. Any parent in this room does this with their child, right? You set boundaries, and if they violate them, you enforce the consequence, whether it's time out or something else. But that also applies to adults in our life and teaching them how it's acceptable to interact with us and treat us. And, in the case of struggling with a family member with a substance use disorder, I find that families often have said the boundaries, but they don't enforce them.
Okay.
It's like, I'm not going to let you, use in the house. But then if the person who's struggling does it, there is no consequence to it. And so it becomes unenforced and the behavior just continues. And that's when it becomes enabling.
So let me ask, I have a good friend, she always reminds me, I can ask her if she uses the B word often, boundaries. We need to have boundaries, especially as adults with ourselves. This is my space, this is what is acceptable and is allowed in this space. No, I will not respond to you at this time. Boundaries in all sense. So immediately my question is then, do we understand what boundaries are, and do we reasonably set a boundary? So the parent-child example, little Johnny, if you do this, then it's going to happen. And then we maybe set too high an expectation, because little Johnny is only 4 months old. He has no clue what you're talking about. But maybe Johnny is 40. But well, you need to get out on your own and start working. So first off, that boundary, do we know what they are, and do we have a reasonable understanding of what is appropriate given the circumstance?
I mean, I think boundaries are highly individualized based on the level of someone's substance use and how it's interfering with the family's life. That's going to look different in between each household. Some people may have the boundaries of like, I don't want you to drink and drive. Other people might say, if you're going to drink and drive with yourself, there's nothing I can do about that, but I can't allow you to do it with the kids in the car. And so it's going to look different for every family, and so are the consequences. And, generally the consequences to, hey, if you don't follow this expectation or this boundary, they might start out pretty minimal, but eventually the family gets burned out going through this process, and they escalate, and it gets to that point of, if you do not make this change, I can't be with you anymore. You can't live in the house anymore, or we're going to, get a divorce or separate. And that is sort of the natural progression of boundaries, is they start out kind of small, and then if they are not respected and followed, usually the consequence does escalate to those.
But then, is it then that should understandably be a natural progression? But maybe we've set up a boundary, so it's 5 feet away, and then the thing isn't attainable, so we bring it to 4 feet, 3 feet, and then eventually there's no boundary. So we're back to where we started.
Yeah.
But it also depends on again, like your family of origin, because I don't remember taking a course on boundaries in high school or elementary school. I don't remember them teaching this stuff.
I was on Fridays. I was absent too.
Okay. And I didn't start learning this stuff until, my late 20s and 30s when I started studying counseling, actually. So I was bringing anything I knew from my family of origin and how I interacted and learned behaviors and all that kind of stuff. So again, I mean, I wouldn't know what a boundary was necessarily until I learned that. But also, so the family can get really sick in addiction. And it's not just the person. A lot of times the person will say, it's only me, I'm hurting, but it's not. And the family gets incredibly sick as well. And that's why programs like Al-Anon and Adult Children of Alcoholics Anonymous and a book that I read through, Codependent No More, was really helpful, just to open up a new layer for myself, of what those things look like, what healthy relationships might look like, what love might look like.
I'd like to say I really appreciate what you just said. The impact on the family. We cause those that are in our immediate circle, including our bosses, because how many times have I called, I can't make it this morning, and from my voice, he or she can tell that I wasn't doing what I was just sleeping all night last night, and they're nearly as sick, if not sicker, than us, because these are persons that they don't even use drugs, yet when they see us at the gate, they're already putting the bottles in the cupboard, hiding their purses, those sort of things. And this is in my own house, or those that love us, their own homes and spaces, and so to accommodate us one more time. And I think it's we as the persons that are extending help or the empathy, this is a sick individual, and I did not get here just today. By the time I show up on your door, I'm 4 years, 5 years, 26 years deep into this, seeing patterns and behaviors, and so when I set those boundaries, the help, how important the help is for our loved ones, and that they know, that Friday class that we missed, the boundaries, what boundaries are, and how to stick to them, because that stick-to-itiveness is what, without a doubt, will help us, the addict. It might drive us a little further, but without a doubt, how many times have I had told myself, thank you for what you did? And it takes some time to get to that point to realize that it was a benefit piece than opposed, they don't love me one more time, so I'm going to do what I normally do, which is be a jackass. And how if just taking, how often have it been said to me, well, you're clean, sober. Why are you doing that? Why are you behaving like that? Why are you acting out like that? And when I take the drug out, I'm still left with those underlying things that has feelings attached to it. And I'm telling you, I'd rather get in a knuckle fight than to tell you how I really feel here. Because if you think me smoking dope has anything you want to get in a battle is get me here. Emotional. And because that's really where healing comes from, but it is one of the most scariest places to let you in, to make you know exactly how I've been hurting for so long, and I keep trying to bury it with a crack pipe.
So then, when we come back from this, Ms. Susan, if I didn't tell everybody, she's in charge, just in case people didn't know. You thought it was me, right? Yeah. Not so. Right. So this place of healing, where healing comes from, how do we get there? So after the break, then maybe we can ask about Dr. Button, if that's not the way we go, you'd guide us, because I think we all are good at masking certain things, that emotion to hide that hurt, that addiction to avoid dealing with that inner turmoil. So where does healing come from? How do we get there, and how do we ensure that we are as best as we can, the best self that we want to be? We're going to pause and take that break, and when we come back, well, if we're here, join us. If we're not, well, too bad. Stay tuned.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Captain Charles Leonard Kirkconnell, OBE 1922 to 2010. Captain Charles Kirkconnell has donated land on all 3 islands for projects close to his heart. In Cayman Brac, he donated the land on which now stand Faith Hospital, the dental clinic, and Kirkconnell Community Care Centre. The Booby Pond Reserve on Little Cayman began with his gift of a small strip of land along the pond, and in 2001 to 2002, he donated the land for a new church in Blossom Village. Bethel Baptist Church on Walkers Road, Georgetown, is built on land given to the church by Captain Charles and his brother. He represented the Sister Islands in the Legislative Assembly for almost 13 years, 8 of which he served on Executive Council, holding the portfolio of communications, works, and district administration. During his tenure, the road across the bluff was completed. The Aston Ruddy Civic Center was built, the Cayman Brac Airport runway was lengthened to 6,000 feet, and a new terminal and fire station were built. New docks were built on both Sister Islands, and a new Port Authority building was undertaken. Captain Charles and his wife Carol Jean Nee McIntosh have 5 children. Captain Charles Leonard Kirkconnell.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
The HSA Specialist Clinic has relocated to a new, modern, state-of-the-art facility at Smith Road Center to offer you a better patient experience. Receive care from top specialists in chiropractic, complementary and alternative medicine, neurology, ENT, urology, pain management, and more. Our orthopedic and telemedicine clinics remain at the Cayman Islands Hospital campus. Please remember to bring your own face mask when visiting any HSA location. Visit our website, hsa.ky, to learn more. At the HSA, you matter to us.
Newlands and Savannah residents are invited to a free health screening and vaccination drive at the community office of the Honorable Premier, Mr. Wayne Panton of Newlands, and Savannah MP, Ms. Heather Bodden, Monday, September 6th, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., number 8, Homestead Crescent, behind Wendy's. The Health Services Authority will be providing health screenings, including blood pressure, glucose, cholesterol, and COVID-19 vaccines. Children 12 to 17 require a parent or guardian to receive the vaccine. No appointments are necessary. However, Newlands and Savannah residents are encouraged to arrive early, Monday, September 6th, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the community office of Mr. Wayne Panton and Ms. Heather Bodden. Community creates country.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Shaken yet standing firm.
I was not built to break.
This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And thanks too for the opportunity to facilitate our monthly mental health matters show as we talk about loving someone in recovery and addiction. I keep reflecting on that because there are country songs about how hard it is to love and the like, and but without love, there is no life. Mm-hmm. And how can you have a life if you have no love? But the reality, Dr. Bodden, is that people are challenged many times, and they mask, they try to figure out how to cope. They do all sorts of things. Thankfully, help is available.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of help available, and I think that there definitely is, especially for substance use. I think it's important to know that even though it touches our lives in one way or another. If we can't relate to it, generally it's someone that we know or someone that's close to us has struggled with it. So it's important for us all to be aware of it. Even just the patterns of it can be helpful. I use a lot of my training in substance abuse, even working with anxiety and depression, because all of it is behavior change. Right, learning new ways of dealing with things and new, more helpful ways of setting boundaries, managing relationships, and dealing with difficult feelings. So all of it ties together in that way. And before the break, we were talking about how the family is the sick system, as Mr. Jason had said. I think, especially in Cayman, where a lot of times people are, especially if they go overseas and they come back, I think Caribbean Haven does a good job. I really appreciate Caribbean Haven being here because they can at least stay in the community and the families can stay connected. But if they do go overseas and come back, a lot of times the family's not had any support. And so to drop that person back into that same system often will trigger a relapse. And then that person gets the blame again. So I think it's really important, if you're going to be around someone who's coming into recovery, to educate yourself, to get the support, to understand what's going on, realizing that addiction, Mr. Cal said it's biological. There's biological, psychological, and social forces that all come into play. And it's important to know, if you're a part of that person's system, the role that you play in it as well, and how you can be the most help to them as well. So I think it's really important that the families get help. And so there's no wrong way to start. It's okay if I'll just kind of tie together how all our agencies work together. We often say, it can just start with a conversation with your GP. If you are familiar with any mental health agencies, there's a lot available. So Mr. Jason and Mr. Cal and I do outpatient. There's also help available through the Counseling Center. And actually, Counseling Center is a part of Department of Counseling Services, which also incorporates Family Resource Center, who we often have on with us, as well as Caribbean Haven. So I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Kimberly, but you can actually do the intake at any of them. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And they'll help you decide the level of service that's needed. Likewise, psychiatry is often a part of it, so you might want to see a psychiatrist. So any of us can help connect you with the other ones. So we work outpatient, so we see people in our offices while they're staying at home. And I'll get them each to talk about their different agencies, but Infinite Mind Care offers an IOP program, as does the Counseling Center, which is going to be an intensive outpatient program. So someone who needs a little bit more support than that outpatient once a week. Caribbean Haven is residential, so you'll go and you'll stay there for a little while. And a lot of times you see these in movies, like 28 Days, right, where you go in and you're actually living there. NDC does a great job of educating the young people and gathering information and data for us. And I think that's where Mr. Ivan actually does a lot of those presentations too, which is really helpful for us to know that substance use is an issue on island and affecting our young people. And they actually have a lot of programs that run in the schools too. And Mr. Brent with the halfway house. So coming out of Caribbean Haven or coming out of prison, actually Mr. Brent's got some great statistics on how his program works versus prison. Then that gives them a safe place to come while they're going through recovery, while they are reconnecting with family, while they're finding a job, getting an education, whatever it is that they need to do for themselves. Mr. Brent's Hope Foundation actually does a great job of supporting them through that. So all of our agencies work together like that, and I think it's really important for everyone to, this is why I was so excited to have all of us here at the table today. And there's no wrong way to start. We all work well together. So get out there and ask questions with whoever you're comfortable with, and we can help connect you to the right one. And lots of activities this week as well, this month as well, if I could get everyone to share their activities and their resources.
Brent, you want to start sharing?
Yes. Well, the Hope Foundation is putting on their 9th annual walk run for recovery. We've been doing this for 9 years now to benefit and raise some funds for the foundation. It's growing bigger and bigger and bigger every year. They can, if they would like to partake, the walk is absolutely for free. I mean, you can come, Dwayne. There's no excuses, Dwayne.
No pressure.
Not every year. He's not comfortable.
So, I mean, just come out, participate, enjoy the walk. Just go West Bay Road. You can bring your dog, you can bring your cat, you can bring your family members. Just come out and be a part of it. Together we can make a difference. Remember, Cayman is home to many that struggle with substance abuse issues, and together we can make a huge difference in the lives of those that are hurting. So come out and be a part of it on the 26th of September, starting at 7 Mile Public Beach.
Perfect.
How to get in the house as well?
Yes, you can contact me at 928-9099, or you can just go to Cayman Hope Foundation That's our website, and you'll find all the details of the foundation. And there's so many things to do in this month in the field of recovery.
Jason?
No particular events I'm going to share. I think Kimberly's going to share one that we're participating in. But I just wanted to talk about a few other organizations that are out there and give names and contacts for that as well, because and that's more of the peer support, kind of Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Al-Anon, those kinds of organizations, because a lot of people either that go to treatment and come home and be placed and be expected to, live in their life with their, back in their families, back in their jobs. They've had the safe place where they were, but then now they're back out in their life. So that can be really helpful there. It can also be really helpful when somebody's not feeling understood by, let's say, a professional doctor, a family member, whatever. We found a lot of people that they end up lying to their doctors or lying to their family about how much they drink and stuff. And then they end up finding a meeting and finding some help and support and ways to stay sober and live sober. So Alcoholics Anonymous can be reached at 926-9044. Their website is caymanaa.org. Narcotics Anonymous is 929-6262, which is NANA. And they have a website, caymanna.wordpress/meetings. I don't think it's a .org there. And Al-Anon is 928-8843, caymanalanon.com.
All right, thanks very much. And Ms. Kimberly, if you...
Yes, so this month the Department of Counseling Services is hosting a Family Fun Day on September the 18th from 12 to 5 at Pedro Castle. It's going to be a great day. You can bring the whole family out. We'll have fun and games and bouncy castles and things like that, and also an opportunity for families to get some education and some support. So I think everyone at this table is slated to come, and some other partner agencies as well. So while also having a good time and celebrating recovery, you'll be able to meet all of us and talk to us about what's available in the community and how you can help your loved one or how you can get some help for yourself in recovery, and celebrate the wins and the opportunities to be in recovery. And then for anyone who's interested in finding out more about Caribbean Haven or seeing how you can get admitted, just give us a call, 947-9992. We're there 24/7, so even if you just want to call and ask questions or chat with someone, anytime, call anytime. We're there. We're happy to take your call and see how we can help you, even if it's just with a non-medical detox to start, and then go from there.
And for Infinite Mind Care, I just wanted to mention our intensive outpatient treatment program. It is an individual treatment program, so I know with this being a small island, there's a lot of people who are nervous about having to go to any type of group treatment. So it allows for confidentiality, and it is 6 hours a week of therapy, and one of those hours is family therapy. So we really recognize the importance of bringing in that support network. We also just have once weekly individual substance use focused counseling as well, if that's needed. And apparently we will be at Family Fun Day, so looking forward to that. And if you want to get in contact with us, it's infiniteMindCare.com.
Have fun. Any thoughts from you, my friend, as we close out? NDC is always up to good things, so anything you want to share with us?
We can certainly be contacted at 949-9000 or on our website, ndc.org. We are also we're going to be a part of the Family Fun Day, and yeah, man. And we do have some things still in the planning stage. Hasn't yet been finalized, but without a doubt, if they do materialize in us being able to do it, it'll be broadcasted. So keep an ear out for us.
Right here, man. Yeah. So that Family Fun Day is on the 18th, 12 to 5 at Pedro, as Kimberly shared. Dr. Bodden.
Yeah, no, recovery is possible. I know we talked about a lot of the difficulties, but it is possible. It can be difficult, but it's worth it. You're worth it, and recovery is worth it, and that's what's important to remember. No matter what's gone on, there's help available. We believe in you.
All right.
So reach out to who's here. If I may add, the Alex Panton Foundation also has support groups that run, and they're free of charge and open to everyone. There's an online one for 13 to 17-year-olds called Teen Talk, and then there's also an adult support group that's from 18 to 30-year-olds that runs at the library every Saturday afternoon. You can check out their Facebook page or their website, alexpantonfoundation.ky, to get more information on those.
Can I pick it back right there?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
We do our boardroom. We do help to facilitate meetings at our office. Mondays at 8 o'clock, Alcoholics Anonymous meeting is had. Wednesday and Friday also at 8 o'clock. Thursday at 7 o'clock, there's a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, and Saturday at 5, there's a Narcotics Anonymous meeting there. And all are welcome. That need to be there, you're welcome. Please do come. It is a safe place that participation in recovery and change can happen.
Yes, and just to add to what Ivan was saying, the Hope Foundation has a bunch of 12-step recovery meetings also. We do have a meeting down at the house at 6 o'clock on Sundays at 6 p.m., Monday at 7 p.m., Wednesday at 8 p.m. We do a house step study for the residents only. But this coming Sunday is something special, because we have a brother from Toronto, for those of you that care to attend, who is celebrating 29 years of recovery. And he will be sharing his personal experience, strength, and hope with us. So anybody that want to come by, just come by 348 Bush Street Hill Road and listen and eat some food with us. We'll be having some food and things like that also. So come out and be a part of it.
All right. And this is it, there is hope. So Dr. Warden, thanks very much. Each of you, thank you very much, not just for being here, but for what you do, and for the wider community recognizing that it is actually a sign of strength that we reach out to get help. That love and support is what we do, because we would want it done to us as well. So there is in fact a embodiment of the golden rule. Looking forward to next month's discussion, Dr. Barton, as you continue to help us and appreciate that mental health doesn't matter. All right, we're going to pause and take a break. And when we come back, we've got some more things in store. Maybe my good colleague from upstairs will find a way in the studio and she might join me. I never know. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Bro, do you really have to eat 2 sandwiches for lunch?
No, but one is for dinner. On Tuesdays at Subway, you can get the 2 subs for any size, plus a fountain drink for the price of 1.
Nah, Bobo, that sounds too good to be true. For real though, 2 subs for the price of 1? And a drink?
Each and every Tuesday now until September 28th. Buy any Subway sandwich in any size and a 32-ounce fountain drink and get an equal or lesser value sub for free. For every 2 for Tuesday purchase, be entered to win one of 3 LG 50-inch 4K smart TVs, a Grill Pro, or one of 2 retro bikes, plus many more prizes. Subway's 2 for Tuesdays is in partnership with Pepsi and Progressive Distributors. Prize drawing is September 30th. Terms and conditions apply. See in store for details.
Save every day with FedEx. Get 40% off when you ship using FedEx International Priority and an additional 5% off on your next shipment. Visit us. Visit FedEx.com keyword Caribbean discount to learn more.
We think it's time you crossed over to a new vehicle. And with the 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross now at Vamp Motors, you have plenty of reasons to make the switch. The crossover body and hybrid engine is a sleek design in a sturdy structure with a spacious interior that opens to extensive cargo space. Stuck in traffic? The high-performance self-charging hybrid system automatically switches between gas and electric vehicle mode, helping you lower both fuel costs and carbon emissions. The Corolla Cross has full LED lighting inside and out, an integrated display audio system with energy monitor, and a dual-zone climate control system to ensure comfort for all. Test drive the new 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid today at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
For information that matters to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you. For the record. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM for Cayman's Straight Talk Morning Show. For the record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the record.
Brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecasts, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. It's going to be some open line now as we take you through today's discussion and invite you to share your thoughts with us. 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. We're very grateful, I say it publicly, with the greatest sense of appreciation to Dr. Alexandra Borden for helping us on a monthly basis for all these many years, having a monthly mental health matters. And to all of the practitioners in the field, from the medical doctors, whether it's our GP or otherwise, for encouraging us to appreciate that our health and well-being is paramount, not just to the, quality of life that we enjoy. It contributes to our productivity. So as we go about, seeking counseling and the like, let's not attach any stigma to it. Let's not have any sense of reservation about doing so. Let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Dwayne, my good man, how are you?
Hey, good to hear from you. How are you today?
Good. But I missed maybe early in the show, but there is a poignant question I have in mind. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of new expenditures that are being put forward by the PAC government, and we're going to say kudos to those for recognizing some of those wants and needs and addressing those. One thing that I'm not hearing is how we're going to balance budgets, where we increase expenditure. There's going to be a negative offset, and I want to hear how is that going to play out in the next 5, 10, 15 years, maybe even as little as 1 or 2 years.
As I listened to you, I was just quickly checking a message. And probably not doing it justice trying to paraphrase it, but maybe that would be the best thing to do. You referenced the PAC government, and this message that come through during the break, so I was looking at it again as you were sharing, and I was asking the question, where are we going to get to a space where we stop this sort of divided approach to governance. The messenger, we had a quick exchange back and forth saying that we don't really have a party system, in that there isn't a discipline that comes within the party system. We don't even have a whip that we use when we do is to ensure an outcome, not necessarily a good one. And it's a long exchange, but the person is saying the threat of a storm or some national issue we can see, maybe political or otherwise, but a semblance of coming together, whether there is an ulterior motive behind it. So when it comes to the finances and potentially the significant borrowings or increases in taxes or deferral of services or maybe the reduction in capital projects, this person is saying, we're going to pay significantly for this as a country, irrespective of who is at the helm politically. So to your point then, is that part of the challenge, that we're not looking at this as a collective, concerted effort by all of us on a consistent basis to ensure that the country can move forward in a way that it appreciates the challenges that lie ahead, a lot of sacrifices that we're going to have to make in order to pay for it, in order to, I don't want to use the word recovery, but since this is September, maybe that's the word to use.
Yeah, that's a long line. It's more of making decisions that where on the right hand and making sure the left hand knows what's happening, and make sure that the left hand doesn't pay for it later on.
Yeah, but then maybe
holistic approach is what you're saying. So
yeah,
if you say we're going to do this today, this is the knock-on effect it's going to have in 20 years. Right. So let's look at education as a good point. If you're saying, okay, we're going to spend $20 million on education, right? What does that equate to in 10 years? Okay, well, we're going to have a reduction in work permit, so we're going to go from 90 million down to 50 million. Okay, well, that's a 20 million out on expenditure and also a $40 million drop in revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where we're going to make up a $60 million deficit is all. That's the kind of competition. So, well, we foresee this.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're going to be doing in between that time to offset. Either we're going to be bringing down our expenditures in other areas,
mm-hmm.
to move money around, or we're going to be raising taxes.
Right. But as you share that too, we can see probably the financial correlation. Now, I like your example, and others will listen and immediately say, well, we won't necessarily have a 20 million outlay here equating to a 20 million sort of savings there. But are we also looking at it from the economic and societal sort of perspective, that maybe the outlay in education creates a much more productive population, one that is healthier in its choices relative to even food, exercise and lifestyle, but also that may not require a government to spend money on what you come to the transfer payments, those social programs and the like, to support certain things because of the lack of productivity, unemployability, or just inability to sustain long-term employment.
Well, again, back to your point of holistic approach.
Uh-huh.
So they need to look at each and every aspect that it touches. It's not a one-for-one. Like
Mm-hmm.
they maybe say, hey, this has a knock-on effect. It reduces all
Mm-hmm.
these other areas to point out. So it is fair point what they're saying.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not as apologetic as some should probably suggest that I be, but I think we need to stop coddling people and currying favor with us and trying to couch language in such a way that it's lost in translation. But we point fingers at politicians, those that we elect and those that are behind the scenes pulling the strings as the puppet masters, but nobody's willing to be responsible for their actions or be held accountable. But what about us as the voter who consistently go to the polls? We have but for our last two elections, which I hope is not a trend that continues, we have a fairly high voter participation. And are we as engaged and informed when we go to the polls? But are we only doing that at an election as opposed to being consistently involved and informed and engaged? And then when we point fingers at the special interests, whether we label them the Chamber of Commerce or some professional organization, but they're paying attention to what is happening that's affecting them so that they can influence the agenda. What are the voters doing? Beating up their gums and complaining?
Yeah, well, that's the only choices that are left.
But why? Why is that? I mean, yeah.
Well, for example, you see a politician come into your neighborhood, during campaign time.
Yep.
And many of them, you never see them again. many of the persons who run and are not successful, they also what we say ghost you. Many of the ones who run in my area, honestly, I haven't heard a peep from them post election.
Right. Something that
thank you for your time. I wasn't successful.
Right.
Maybe next time, and I'm willing to work with you on your issues during the next 4 years. Yeah. I mean, it's 1 and 2, but for the most part,
exactly.
That's the option. Yeah. So, if you voted for Mr. X, you can't get a hold of Mr. X. Now, you don't have no idea where he is.
Right.
He's relatively busy. But
all right. So help me here, right? I'm sure.
And then his hands are tied.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I'll probably ruffle some feathers and annoy some people, but you know what? It's Monday. Maybe they'll get over it by the end of the week. But if not, too bad. As important and as I welcome the opportunity, and I'm not going to try to pick on the Chamber of Commerce, but since it is a public thing, right? For a very long time, they've had this legislative luncheon right after the election, and many media outlets, including Radio Cayman, carry it live. We get the political leader, now it's called the Premier, making an address, and the country is, if it chooses, can be informed right then and there as to what is being said, or can go back at some point and listen to what was presented. Then there are a few other events that have occurred, usually, and that's why I highlight the Chamber's event, usually from the financial sector. So some sort of economic or financial forum that takes place, and we've seen the last government make an announcement, that iconic tower or whatever it was that was proposed. They talk about bespoke legislation to accommodate certain things. So many significant things are announced to this body of people, almost exclusively because the rest of us are not aware. So the ruffling of the feathers continues by when I suggested to someone, well, why complain about that happening? Why not have, a voters initiative, a voter-driven sort of entity that hosts something similar? And there you see the lack of organization and participation. We want it done, but nobody's willing to put out the effort to ensure that it's done. So why complain about the Chamber or anybody else organizing this thing? The immediate response, well, they have the funds, they have the organization, they have the thing. But there's the answer. The lack of unity, the lack of organization, the lack of participation results in a lack of information.
Right. No, fair enough.
Fair enough. So,
back to your point of coddling.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe are we coddling fortitude in the wrong areas?
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta go along there. Sure, look, Will. So we'll talk to you later.
Yeah, but let's see if you get any. I know a fellow that would probably share them with you. So you enjoy it, my friend. All right. Thanks for taking time. All right. As we think, we talk, and as we talk, we learn. Let's go to the phones and listen to this other caller. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling. Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling.
Afternoon, my friend. How are you today, man?
Oh, man, fantastic. I don't want to call you Mr. Platinum today because today is Monday.
Mm-hmm.
But in regards to that thing, that abuse or consumption, etc.,
mm-hmm.
I was led to turn the leaves in my Bible, and I saw something in Proverbs 31.
Mm-hmm.
And that was I think it was the King James Version, something about taking a strong drink
mm-hmm.
For, certain, well, apparently it seems to advise certain people, maybe the poor people experiencing misery or you got to, I would read it,
mm-hmm.
and see what it has in the Bible. Proverbs 31.
Yeah, Proverbs 31 woman, but yeah, I know there's somewhere, and I honestly not gonna tell you that I know where it is. They talk about, the drink when moderation, settling the stomach, and all that. But I think what we need to be mindful of is this notion that a lot of things potentially could be that thing which we gravitate towards, and maybe identified as addiction. So I do enjoy certain foods. I do enjoy certain activities. They may or may not be classified as addiction according to the medical personnel, but they may have a similar impact. Now, we we probably, other than the overindulgence of, say, foods and the ill effects on our health, we probably won't treat that person with the same disdain and contempt. We certainly won't, ostracize them or disassociate ourselves so much from them as if that person was, an addict on some drug, from alcohol, tobacco or other drug. And I think many of us, even the person who is smoking something, may tend to look at them a certain way. You stand downwind from me. I can't stand the smell of, your clothes or that's why I don't want to hug you or whatever it is because of the smell, the taste or the like. So are we conscious that addiction creates within us, this behavior that may not only harm us, but harm the very people that we care the most about?
But there's this thing that some people, this angle that some people seem to approach certain issues on, which could be on religious grounds. That religious thing, if he is instructed biblically to, do certain things, and the poor fella, he's so stressed out, and oh man, I think I need to take a drink. I mean, well, it wasn't me who said it. I saw it in the Bible, Proverbs 31. Yes, sir.
Well,
so, all kinds of stuff that, yes, sir.
Well, I'm going to try to see. I mean, I'm sure there's someone right there, and then I can call them on a few names, and they'll probably give me this, scripture, chapter and verse. But I don't know. I'm going to try to see if I can look up the Bible verse for you and see if I can find where you reference it. So I'll use some of those internet search engines,
yes.
See if I can find it. And when I do, I'll see if I can reference it. But I know I got some prayer warriors and some scripture, knowledgeable people of the scripture that can tell me. But, we'll see where it takes us. All right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Talk to you soon, my friend. Okay?
Okay, sir. Okay.
Blessings. Well, again, I wasn't listening to Miss Susan, and she's telling me. So join us after this break. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Optical Outlook Caymanian Village location has moved. Same great services and products, new location. We've moved to Anderson Square in central Georgetown. It's a much larger space with dedicated parking. Please call us on 746-2020 to make your appointment at our new location today. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Please come see the difference with Optical Outlook, Cayman's premier optical provider.
20 years.
Remember when Crew Road had no median and Linford Pearson was only 2 lanes?
We do.
When Dirty Reeds was down the street?
We do.
We have been there for the falls, the growth, and the rise. When your body and mind needed to change, Powerhouse Gym has been here. We've skated with you. Your first date, your daughter's first time on skates, your son's first strike. From football to squash, to karate and hockey, to bowling and concerts, and everything in between.
For 20 years,
so much has changed, some for the good and some not so much. Through it all, King Sports Center has been here for you, for Cayman.
King Sports Center, celebrating 20 years as Cayman's home for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Do you have plans to travel to the UK? You must provide a letter of certification from Public Health and your vaccination certificate issued in the Cayman Islands. If traveling to the UK via the Bahamas, the United States, Canada, Jamaica, or any other Amber List country. If you are traveling directly to the UK from Cayman, no letter of certification is necessary. Letters of certification may be requested by emailing vaccinecertification@hsa.ky. Travelers must attach a copy of their vaccination card as a screenshot attached to their email request. All requests will take 3 business days to process, and letters will only be issued within 3 weeks of a person's date of travel. Letters of certification are only needed if traveling to the UK via any Amber List country. Travelers to the UK coming directly from the Cayman Islands do not require a letter of certification.
Radio Cayman, this is how we wake you up in the morning. Praise time on Radio Cayman.
Sing your praise to the Lord. Come on, everybody, stand up and sing one more. Hallelujah, give your praise to the Lord. We are united in Jesus Christ. We are the soldiers of the land.
Praise time.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
There's a meeting up in heaven. Roll call. It's a
Praise time.
Jesus in the morning, yeah.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
Your song flowed through my lips. Your work moved through my hands. Your thoughts stay on my mind. Live in me.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And as we get ready for headline news at 2 p.m., maybe a couple of things our last caller shared. And mindful, certainly we're going to be guided by not only those who we accept that may actually know more, have a little bit more experience, expertise, that knowledge and the like, but sometimes just living and learning. But what is it that we're mindful? A little learning is a dangerous thing. But during the break, we quickly sort of listening up on the call it sort of requests. They're talking about, a strong drink, and a few passages did in fact come to mind, as it were. And one of them sort of reminded us that Scripture talks about wine is a mocker, and a strong drink is raging. Whoever is deceived thereby is not wise. It talks about give strong drink unto him that is ready to perish, and wine unto those that be of heavy hearts. There are ones that talk about they shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. It is interesting to appreciate how sometimes we look at things and we don't always understand the consequences of it. We may be quick to condemn many people because of their activities. We may be so quick to look at people and forgive them again because of the consequence. So, for instance, that family celebrating a special occasion, we maybe immediately accept that a toast is in order, and without question expect that toast would be with something of an alcoholic component. But raise a glass as long as it's not empty, but could it not be filled with coconut water? Well, let's pause and take our headline news. When we come back, we'll have some more open line as we invite you to share your thoughts. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. On Wednesday, the Minister for Education, the Honourable Juliana O'Connor-Connolly, attended the formal handover of Sectors 1, 5 and 6 of the new John Gray High School from McAlpine Limited to the Department of Education Services. Minister O'Connor-Connolly tells Radio Cayman she is proud of the undertaking and the positive impact it will have for generations of students to come. In international news, the families of those killed in the downing of flight MH17 over Ukraine in 2014 have begun to testify at the trial of 4 suspects. About 90 relatives will speak at the high-security court. International investigators say the plane was shot down with a missile fired by pro-Russian rebels. All 4 suspects have denied involvement. A 3-year-old boy who went missing in the Australian bush 4 days ago has been found safe after a search. Anthony Elfalak was spotted by police helicopters on Monday, drinking water from a creek on his family's property in rural New South Wales. The little boy, who has autism and doesn't speak, had been last seen at the house on Friday. Former France footballer Jean-Pierre Adams, who had been in a coma for 39 years, has died at the age of 73. Adams was admitted to hospital for knee surgery in March 1982, but never regained consciousness after an error with his supply of anesthetic. Born in Senegal, the defender made more than 140 appearances for Nice and also played for Paris Saint-Germain. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you very much for joining us on this open line edition of Talk Today. It's a Monday as the month of September rolls in. Well, where are your thoughts? Hopefully you're excited and expectant, very hopeful and anticipating great things that lie ahead. Our children are going back to school. Now there's much speculation as to what will transpire once the borders open. We're hearing concerns that schools may go online again. Consumers may shy away from openly engage in commerce, whether heading out to restaurants and evenings as we've done, maybe perhaps not for some ill-advised, but maybe hopefully not in a panic fashion, going and doing their shopping early as if we're preparing for hurricane season. All I ask of us is please be civil, responsible, respectful and appreciative, and not allow panic to guide our behavior. Sometimes as consumers we are irrational in our approaches, and that probably sometimes drives the economy. Those impulse buys that we do as we checking out, or that time we go to the supermarket really hungry. I've got a feeling for something but we're not quite sure what we want, and then we come up with everything that we don't need and regret afterwards, but we still consume it. Well, it happens. So as we move about, let's remember to be our brother's keeper and be sensible, civil and respectful and responsible in our endeavors. Join alongside our leadership, our political leadership, our appointed leadership, the leadership in our churches, schools, in the communities, and maybe as business partners, we are conscious and develop a sense of conscience relative to our behaviors. Not about profiteering and price gouging, but about how do we ensure that we're meeting, those objectives. The business has to stay in business. If not, the employees are unemployed. The investors may not necessarily get a return. You might say that's a bad thing, but think about it. If the business goes under, all those people for whom, that business was a paycheck, for whom that was a career that they invested in upward mobility, what happens to them? Well, let's assume the government is able to take care of all of them. Chances are, at some point, that's not going to be sustainable, but let's say, then what happens? What about the psyche of that person? So, it is about very, very careful, constructed, strategic approach. Now, where do we play into this? Well, think about the success that we enjoyed last year. The mere fact that we were able to, seemingly do something that many other countries were challenged, despite everybody doing the same thing. I think it comes down to us as wonderful people being very, very deliberate in our choices and trying to be responsible in our actions and even in our frustrations. I can't say for anybody else, but, being confined to four walls is probably inhumane, at least in my mind. Being unable to see a good friend and engage in a game of dominoes or just to shake hands and embrace is punishing. To see people for whom after months and months of being so physically distant, socially disconnected, that they are now not just very fearful of hugging again that grandchild that they long to see, that family member for whom there was a battle with some illness. And even though with the tears in their eyes and a heavy heart, they've now become so conditioned that they no longer feel that they can once again hug and embrace and sit and break bread. Now, it's not to malign people, not to offend their sensibilities, but it's the reality. We're probably told that behaviors after a certain time need to be, considered effort from to become the thing which we do. Bad habits, they say, are easy to form, easier, than the good habits. Now, where are we and what are we doing? Well, let's figure this out together. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Or let's WhatsApp 925-3261. Or equally, you can call and share your thoughts. Preferable that we hear from you directly, simply because it allows us the chance to hear what you're saying, to be able to engage directly so that we have a meaningful, discourse. And sometimes that thing which you're thinking is also that thing that you think others aren't thinking, but they're only glad that someone said it because they had it in their mind and didn't quite know how to formulate, and you said it just exactly how they wish they could say it, or it encourages them not only to say that, but to share something else. If we do live in a healthy democracy, there are going to be times when we say things that may run counter to what seems to be the majority opinion. But maybe the majority opinion isn't right. Maybe it isn't the majority opinion. It's just that it's the loudest one that we're hearing. And even if it is the majority opinion, doesn't mean that the dissenting voice isn't necessarily, right. But at the very least, it should have a place in our society as well. The lawyers talk about, a case in court before the highest appellate court, and in the dictum, there may be this dissenting voice that doesn't necessarily follow along the reasoning of the majority of the sitting justices. But at some point, that may become so persuasive that, the court, if it's able to, will be, step away from its earlier decision. Or if there's a higher court, they may say, well, this should be the case. Not long ago, that was the case when we expect, good sense to prevail. Well, it should be the same today. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp 925-3261, and share your thoughts with us. You can share as you wish on anything, as we have some open line within today's discussion. It is Recovery Month, so let's not forget the importance of looking after ourselves and appreciate. It doesn't matter how long you may have been struggling with that addiction, or how many times you've tried, or how low you may feel you've gotten, or how many regrets you may have. Try again, man. Try and try again. Let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hello, Mr. Chocolate.
I am so glad you said that, because I was mindful that a good friend today recognized that I had my glow again, and I realized that's probably because I got to savor some chocolate not too long ago.
Well, I have mine later. I got to go to school, but I'll have mine later.
Oh, man. Good chocolate is good chocolate.
Good for the soul, they say.
Oh, yeah. It makes the heart feel good, runs the endorphins through the body, and it just gives you that spring in your step.
Yeah, like the old man say, it makes you live longer, too.
It certainly brings you up to a rise, and it certainly gets you going, man. Gets you feeling good.
Yep. So then I want to hit on a couple of things, and I want to see how much time, what was going to happen between the call. You don't have anyone there with you, right?
At this moment, no. We have open lines, so you can share a thought with us.
Okay. I just want to hit on, the house insurance, vehicle insurance, life insurance, medical insurance. Sterling, those things that we're paying for on a monthly basis, I think if we were to put more trust in God, we wouldn't have to have no insurances on various things, and that should never even exist, insurance, because it's all a rip-off. Because I was talking to someone the other day, and a family member of mine said the same thing I was telling another friend of mine. You work half your life for a company or even for yourself. And when you get in our retirement age, you're fully sickness, and your insurance don't even cover you. Some policies that they have out there only cover you like one time per year. Can you imagine? That's not fair. And you pay your premium every month. You pay your premium in CI dollars, and if you're going to get anything back, you're going to pay it in US dollars. That is not fair. Something needs to be done about this insurance. I guess it's all over the world, but Cayman is too small to have so much crookedness going on in the insurance business. Let me get a little story about my house some years ago. I was talking to the gentleman at the insurance company, and I was telling her I was about to give up my policy because, I just wasted months at the degree. My house needed repairs and yakety-yak. So I just run by. I said, tell me something. If I got a damage right now in my house, how much I would get after my you deduct from it? He said, about $4,000. I said, $4,000 can rebuild my roof or put back 2 walls in my house or whatever the case may be, And you got people here who have their place insured. And when you go to them to tell them that, you got this damage and your fence was damaged and yakety-yak, you know what you tell them? Oh, it's not enough deductible, it's not enough cost to treat a file for your fencing at your house. And you imagine you got insurance and the bank requests insurance while you have a mortgage left for you to take out one if you want to after your mortgage is paid off for. So I gave up mine a year ago because I've been paying insurance on my house for over 20 odd years. Practically. I never had one claim. And I never get $1 reimbursed to me.
But isn't that the thing, insurance sort of making a provision just in case? Now, I get what people sometimes would share that, if they're paying an insurance premium for 10, 20, 30, 40 years and nothing, and all of a sudden in year 50 there's something for a claim, they would say, well, what about the previous 5 decades or the previous 5 years? But then, isn't that sort of the reason why we're doing it, just in case, and pray that it doesn't happen, but if it is, we do it, have it available?
Yes, certainly, but the fact of the matter is, it's nothing to happen. You don't even get a reimbursement of the 2 years you pay for any hurricanes or any floods or earthquake or whatever the case may be. Sterling, I don't know about anybody else, but I have come to the conclusion, even medical, a one-time cover on insurance, you're paying that every month, and you only get covered one time a year, and only a certain amount of stuff going to be covered, and you got to pay a deductible. You got to pay like I think 20%, and they pay the 80% or whatever the case may be. I mean, Sterling, your mama did, my mama did, my grandmother did. They never had no insurance, and everything went well. But they got this thing that if we don't get into the program, we're going to be left out behind. If people got third party on their car, if they hit somebody, the person got to be fixed, but that individual not going to be fixed.
But even if I might just quickly, the idea of auto insurance, for some strange reason, right, we seem to have a law that requires us to have insurance for our cars, to have a license, and I think that's a great thing. But we don't seem to allow the proper enforcement of that. Even some of the vehicles on our roads would appear, in the absence of being a mechanic to know otherwise, would appear that the vehicle could be suspect. So two things come to mind. One, as someone had suggested way back when publicly on our radio, that maybe the level of inspection for vehicles need to move from on site to be on patrol among the roads, and the panel of inspectors, those that we've hired, should have the power as they're out and about, like the police officers driving about, and they see a vehicle, stop the vehicle, inspect it then and there, and the vehicle is found to be on-road worthy, sanction the entity that inspect the vehicle and said it was a passing vehicle, and then sanction the owner of the vehicle. What do you think about that?
I agree with all that. I agree with that very much.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of cars on the road that shouldn't be on the road, but they take a chance and come out and drive them because they want to get from point A to point B. And half of them are in roadworthy. And I probably say mine is not fully roadworthy itself.
Well, we know that, even a brand new vehicle, driving off the lot of the manufacturer about to be delivered, to the retailer, could have defects. Yeah, we understand that. But I guess the statistical probability is that that's going to be a rarity. At some point there are these, what they call these recalls, but like the drugs, like manufactured, automobiles and the like, there are challenges. But I asked the question, and we allow insurance companies in some jurisdictions, and I've seen ads here in the past. I haven't been paying attention much recently, so I don't know if it's still the case, of selling this uninsured motorist policy. But should we not get to a place in a society where the ethos, the good common sense and practice of us as people, so we don't drive the vehicle if it's not insured, we don't drive a vehicle that is on-road worthy and unlicensed, we don't engage in behaviors now. Some would say, boy, that's idealistic and you're really naive, but if you need to get to a place where you're enforcing this sort of thing, maybe there are significant breakdowns in society and in the values that we think would make us safer, healthier, better.
A lot of breakdown in society, 100%. And it's Sterling, getting back to neighbor to neighbor yard with their trees and fences being destroyed. And the neighbors doesn't want to help back the individual person that got in fencing damage because of the other neighbor trees that are the whatever vehicle may have in the yard got ran into the fence of the hurricane season. They just leave the person there hanging, and that's not fair. We need to have some law for that. This thing about all the trees in your yard, your responsibility. We need to knock that out. That needs to be knocked out. And Sterling, another thing, we need to have a restriction on trees when we're planting them in our yards and on these condos in hotels, and especially there on Dart Highway, when the judge then fell down just a couple of weeks ago. People are putting these trees up and not maintaining them, letting them go all over the streets, and it is dangerous. And
so,
nobody wants to trim them, or the owner. The owner is responsible for them.
So when you say a restriction, are you meaning the type of tree, the size of the tree, the position of the tree? What? The size of the tree, the tree that where it's going to be put, that it doesn't hinder the neighbors or a road driving on a main road. It should not be hanging over the main road, especially when it belongs to a private owner. They should be held responsible to have those trees maintained. But we got laws here, and none of it's being enforced. It is sad. It is sad. Well, thank you for always, sharing your thoughts, and maybe it'll cause some people to at least do likewise and think. Hey, thanks very much, Mom. Enjoy your afternoon, okay? Bye. All right, let's pause and take a break. When we come back, well, a few minutes to remain. It might be your time to shine, so stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners would like to remind customers the closing time for all stores is 5:30 p.m. Savannah Countryside, 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Elgin Avenue, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Puritan Cleaners, 337 Eastern Avenue. Drive-through, rain or shine. 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Now 10% off prepaid on $20 orders and up. Household and wedding dresses remain at standard offer. 10% off on prepaid orders. Drop off and transfer for pickup from any of the 3 Puritan stores for your convenience. Call 949-7104. Puritan Cleaners. You feel good when you look good.
This is an important message from the Cayman Islands Needs Assessment Unit for Grand Cayman residents. If you live outside of Georgetown and need NAU assistance, then the NAU in our district program could be for you. This month, the NAU will be providing walk-in services at the East End Civic Center on Friday, 3rd September from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and at the Northside Public Library from 1 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. At the Bordentown Public Library on Friday, 10th September from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and at the West Bay Public Library on Friday, 17th September from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Walk-in clients are asked to bring any supporting documentation along with them. For further details, email nauinfo@gov.ky or call 345-946-0024.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. We are a non-for-profit member-centric plan with a democratically elected volunteer board of trustees representing all sectors of the Cayman Islands economy. Chamber Pension has an all-in expense ratio of 0.72% over 16,000 members, $430 million in assets under management. We were the first multi-employer pension plan approved by the regulator in the late 1990s. And today, we are still strong, secure, and are here for employees and employers alike. If you would like to join or request further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
The HSA Specialist Clinic has relocated to a new, modern, state-of-the-art facility at Smith Road Center to offer you a better patient experience. Receive care from top specialists in chiropractic, complementary and alternative medicine, neurology, ENT, urology, pain management, and more. Our orthopedic and telemedicine clinics remain at the Cayman Islands Hospital campus. Please remember to bring your own face mask when visiting any HSA location. Visit our website, hsa.ky, to learn more. At the HSA, you matter to us.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. During the break, a number of you have messaged in relative to your thoughts about where we are, and I am glad to read and share them, and appreciate that today we didn't have the same level of sort of challenges with the phones as we had from time to time. When it rains sometimes, the water gets into the system, you never can tell how it goes. Calling the line, Miss Susan. Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon, welcome, thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling Dwayne. How you doing?
Very blessed and thankful. How are you?
Right here, rough regular Port Urban. Thankful and blessed.
You're thankful, there, boy. But you're a gracious man and you understand the blessing.
Yeah. What I call about Sterling, T&B. They tell you, you need to produce your birth certificate to prove that you came on. And you need a photo ID. Well, a government photo ID. You give your birth certificate and you give your driver's license. But they say the driver's license can't do it. That's a picture ID, got your signature on it. It's a government that product, so to speak. They want your passport. What will the passport tell them that your birth certificate hasn't and your driver's license don't?
Okay.
Because you can have a BOT passport. That don't mean that you're naturalized as a Caymanian or got your status.
That I listened to you and I was just thinking back to a conversation. It was Wednesday or Thursday last week, where people are looking at their, for want of a better word, their status, their immigration status, and trying to understand. Well, some of it is what they were told by friends, family, co-workers, and like as to the process by which they went through. Some of it is probably things that they know to be a fact. Again, whether that's accurate or otherwise. And some of it is to consider, that some people are just ill-informed, or there may have been instances where whatever happened isn't necessarily what should have happened for whatever reason, right?
No, this is facts. As a matter of fact,
yeah.
The individual was told that they cannot accept, because the individual sent in a copy that they took on their phone of the passport, and they can't accept that. They needed to be verified that it is a copy of their passport. That's number one. Number two, they have a copy of the individual's driver's license prior to this. And now they have their birth certificate as well. The birth certificate dates back to the 60s. How much more Caymanian do you want than that? And the picture ID gives the photo, the driver's license gives your full name. Say, for example, my name, Jeffrey Warner Woods. Come on. The passport is going to state the same thing. It's going to state that you're a BOT citizen. It's not going to say that you're Caymanian.
Well, I'm looking at something as you talk, and someone is saying here, they're sent something through, and then they quickly sent back this to reference what you were sharing, that there are people in the country for whom they've gone to immigration, got that stamp, and does that position that person to be, from the legal perspective and from the being able to demonstrate a level of compliance, I think is this word, they can prove that they're Caymanian. But for those who may say, well, I was born here, my parents were born here, my parents' parents were born here, my parents' were born, but I don't have a stamp. Why should I have a stamp? Does that create classes within classes and some without, all sorts of things? I mean,
well, this is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't applied for my status, so I guess if it was me, then I would have a problem, because hey, look, I don't have a stamp in my passport. So if it was me, come on. I would be without a job, or they would say, well, hey, look, you're not Caymanian, so you can't qualify to have a trade and business license. I mean, come on. But yet, my birth certificate tells you straight and plain I was born here, and my father and mother, who they are. And if you want, I could go back and get their birth certificate as well. I mean, they were born here, and I can go back and get their parents because they were born here. Come on. How much more you would say notification do you need to prove that a person is a Caymanian? If they were born here from in the 60s and they're still here, I mean, they got to be, I mean, something. But yet, no, your driver's license, no, that can't use as a picture ID. Come on.
You know, I wonder sometimes to what extent, you know, we are aware of the things that we're doing from the perspective that, on one hand, I believe we should have some precedents that we follow, or we should have a semblance of a very, very deliberate, conscious, structured approach to the way information should be gathered and presented. But how many times...
On the other...
Sorry,
on the other
go
hand,
ahead.
Dwayne, I wonder if these people on the boards are from here as well.
Right, but that was the final point. I wonder to what extent, when we are looking at legislation and seemingly best practices in other jurisdictions, how do we take that and apply it to the Cayman context so that we are not, you know, doing something that makes people look at us as less than, but we're not so offensive to the particular, you know, mindset practices that have worked well for generations now. I think many people will complain that today they go to some entity, including a bank, including a government agency, and they bring, you know, their blue pencil because that was what was needed yesterday and the day before and last month. But today, all of a sudden, now, well, we don't want a pencil. Yeah, we don't even want a black pencil. You know, we need you to bring a rubber man. And they're like, well, nobody told me, right? And these are the things.
This is it on the criteria. Because I looked it up for the individual on criteria. It does not state that it has to be a passport. It says a picture ID.
Well, maybe, but you referencing that now, and maybe a very gentle, you know, call to, you know, someone at the helm might be able to do something. And I say this carefully. As much as we're willing to make exceptions and get it justified, maybe it's time that we employ not just a policy, but we have a very conscious change in if it's the enabling legislation, so that it becomes very, very evident what is required, so that people can be very, you know, very well informed and consistently, you know, bring that thing. Hey, thanks very much for your thoughts, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. Enjoy your afternoon, and may the week be safe and productive for all of us. I believe it's on Monday, not because I looked at the calendar and saw it, or that I was told, but I tell you what, if it's today's only Monday and this is the first Monday of the month, already it's been a long month, and today, for some of us, hasn't even started good yet. So let's collectively and with a concerted effort, prayerfully, and with a sense of appreciation, petition and position ourselves for a very productive week, not just where we're pensive, but where, as a people, we're prepared to work hand in glove to make it better for each and all alike. I'm grateful that Miss Susan doesn't allow us to, you know, get so out of control that we lose track of where we're going, but because she's so gracious and facilitating what goes on behind the scenes, that you get an access, you know, almost, you know, unfettered. Not always. Now, I don't have any requests for today's afternoon listening music, but I know it's all going to be good. So if you stay tuned and listen, you're going to feel great. And when that super jam hits you from 3 to 6, well, it's a positive Monday and it's all good until then. That 1 hour news between 6 and 7 only means that we got some good Caymanian music thereafter, and then the Music Express takes us into the 10 p.m. headline news, where, for me, you know, I used to enjoy listening to BBC, partly because it brings back good memories of my uncle, but even now, despite the geopolitical change in landscape, we are indeed positioned. If we're informed and engaged and constructive, proactive and positive, we can find good things that happen. See what a little taste of dark chocolate can do for you? Can you imagine what happened if you can get it every day? Until tomorrow, my friends, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Cayman.
The voice.
The heart.
The soul